Hi all, I'm Artur and welcome back to the Running in Game Business course by Edvice. My segment will be focusing on polishing your presentation for a pitch, but actually there is a block which will consist from 4 sections: polishing your presentation for a pitch, methods for engaging speeches, securing the meetings with investors, and last but not least, preparing for a meeting. Today's focus, upcoming 10 minutes focus, is on polishing your presentation for a pitch. But before we go into polishing your presentation, who I am and why I'm speaking to you. Once again, I'm Artur, and my full name is Artur Davydenko, and I spent almost 10 years in various gaming and big tech companies like Google, Meta, and gaming companies like Kefir, Legendary. Moreover, I spent 2 years at the venture capital fund Flyer One Ventures, where at first I fundraised money from them, and then I spent 2 years searching for the game startups and investing in some of them. So I raised or invested more than 1.5 million United States dollars, and I would like to share my experience with you. Hopefully it will help you with your fundraising and with your pitching. Let's go to the details. The agenda of upcoming 10 minutes is basically how I divide game studios and game tech startups and what it is. Then the fundraising as the science. Spoiler, there will be another angle on the fundraising. And then I will share the examples of the decks and why we have different decks and what is exactly is investor update and data room. But you will have all the templates in the end, you will have all the links, and in the end of my blog, you will have a big long read with all the links and additional materials. So don't think about the technicalities and specifics. I would rather invite you to think about why and what to do, and then how will be shown in the examples and templates. As I mentioned, I would like to divide game content studios, so game developers who are creating games for mobile, PC, console, and maybe VR. And then I would like also to introduce the game tech concept. Basically, all the startups, mostly B2B startups, but sometimes B2C startups. B2B is business to business, B2C is business to consumer. But all of these game tech startups are having a different business model rather than a content game studio. So when you're creating a game, you're trying to use either freemium, meaning that it's free to start, or it's premium, meaning that you need to buy in advance to get the full copy of your game model. And then basically you're getting money for creating new, unique content. And without new, unique content, you will not get money from players. When you're a game product or game tech startup, you're solving problems. So basically being paid for solving problems, and you can be paid as the software as a service business model, meaning that it's a recurring revenue for providing service every month, or you can be a marketplace, so basically you can connect some of the ecosystem players of the market, maybe consumers and businesses, maybe businesses and marketing tools. So it can be a marketplace, and you can see it quite different to gaming content studios. So let's go into the details of game studio business model and how it affects basically your pitch to the investor. So in my opinion, when you're a gaming studio, you have a game mechanic, you have setting an art style, and then you're creating a new piece of gameplay. And that's what you're selling to your players. And that's what you should be selling to investors as well. So the conclusion is that you have a new unique game. And that's it. And that's the business model. And that's the structure. And then if you're going to be a game tech startup, basically you're trying to find a big problem which exists in the market, and this problem needs to be solved. And you're trying to understand why this problem exists, because maybe it's actually not a problem, or maybe the cause of this problem affects this problem, and it's a small problem, or maybe it's an unsolvable problem, and you don't need to start solving it. Technology or just people behavior is so far away from being changed. And then, obviously, if it's a solvable big problem, you offering the solution. And that's what you selling to businesses or consumers. And that's what you're selling to investors. So you can see that it's quite different structure. And it actually affects pitch deck structure as well. That's why I decided to start from this. Why? Why am I spending so much time focusing on the structure? I spending so much time on it because I believe that you should use data in order to increase your efficiency, and fundraising in this sense is a science. So there is a big research, and the link is on the bottom on the slide. But the most important is that a lot of clever people spend a lot of time analyzing how venture capital funds are looking at your deck, at your pitch deck. And basically, TLDR, the spoiler, they don't have a lot of time. They're spending a few minutes, maybe seconds, to look at your deck. So basically, you don't have a lot of time to show where you are and to impress the investor. Obvious, logical, but still, you need to know it. And what you also need to know is that there are key things, key mistakes, I would rather call them key misses from your peers or from your competitors, which I would like you to think about. The first one is competition. A lot of pitch decks that I've seen are providing the wonderful world without competitors. In real life, it is rather bad to show this pitch deck to an investor. Two reasons why. First, if there are no competitors, why? Maybe the problem isn't existing or it's unsolvable. Maybe you just found it first. Wonderful. Then have someone try to solve it in a way. Maybe it's direct competition. Maybe it's indirect competition. So you would learn from this experience. And moving forward, if there is a market where there are some competitors, but it's not a monopoly, it's great. It's actually someone just started it already and market exists. So it's good. Show it. And then you show why now. Why should investor invest in you now? Why now you can be the entrance to this market? And then, of course, I will share much more. But when you enter in the market, you need the financials, you need the ask. Financials meaning your financials, your financial plan. And the ask meaning that you're asking for money from the investor and you're not sharing like how much do you value your company because you're a startup. I would rather recommend you not to put your company valuation, but just ask for money. Your ask is 1 million and that's it. And we will go into the details of this later, but I hope it will make sense in 10 minutes. But first, how to get investors' attention. As we discussed before, they don't have a lot of time. And even before you send in the deck and they probably will open or not open it, usually it helps a lot if they would understand the context and they would be on the same page with your startup. So what I would recommend is to first, before sharing the full deck with all the slides that you have, share the teaser deck or the one-pager about your startup, which would probably take something like 30, 60 seconds to read and to understand who you are and should I even consider moving forward as the investor. And I will explain why. And basically, I see it as the online elevator pitch. And the elevator pitch is when you enter in the elevator and you see an investor and you, oh, wow, I'm so lucky. Can I pitch you my idea? And he's like, oh, okay, I'm stuck with you for a few floors, so I don't have plan to evacuation from this elevator. So, okay, you can pitch it. And you pitching it, you have 30 or maybe even less seconds to pitch your startup. How to do it? From my opinion, you should do it in one, maybe two sentences. First, you start with the catchy sentence, and I will share the example, and then you provide a little bit more meat, details, numbers, financials. They need to believe first, and then need to trust your financials second. For example, if you're a game content studio, Unbearable is a game studio which will redefine mid-core RPG by mixing two growing niches, action RPG and fantasy battlers like Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap is a really growing big game. Those two niches are not monopolized, so maybe it's interesting. If person is from the world of gaming, he or she will understand. And then, if investor is still listening, you can share the total addressable market is 10 billion, and it has been growing each year since 2021. Would you like to see our gameplay demo? And then if yes, you can ask for some email address or wherever and share it later. Let's imagine that you entered a different elevator because you are a game tech startup and you elevator with the fund which can invest in gaming software. In LTV AI, we are solving the problem of low in-game LTV by giving LiveOps monetization platform. If investor is still listening, you can say that total addressable market is 3 billion, but we think that we can take up to 30% in 2 years. Do you want to see our deck and product demo? And once again, you can share it via the email, or if investor has time, you can show it straight away. So you need to have your phone or your laptop with you all the time if you're in the mode of fundraising. That was an elevator pitch. It's always stressful, and we will discuss later how to manage your stress, but we polishing your deck. And of course, it's an online elevator pitch, so you just sent it. It wasn't that stressful like an elevator. And now they want a full package, meaning that they want, an investor wants a full deck with all the slides that you have. In my opinion, total number of slides should be 9 or 10, and in case you can combine some of the slides, it's better. And then you can save investors' time and increase your chances of being fully understood. In my opinion, if you're a game studio, you need to start with the perfect pitch deck structure, in my opinion. The first would be the company name, the logo, and the current date. So you would show that it's actually a new deck and it's still relevant to read. The second would be your founder's team and your experience, which should be relevant to what you're trying to do. And then if you have a core team and a hiring plan because it's necessary for your business, then you should show it. Definitely, so number 3 would be optional. Definitely number 4, previous game titles, like the founders' examples, should be relevant to what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to fundraise for. Then the game demo, business model, and core metrics. For gaming, for games, it's usually a playtime and retention rate because monetization usually comes later. So if you have a playtime and retention rate, that's the most important. If you have a video or link to test flight or Android APK, you should definitely provide it. Then competitors' landscape and what unique in your gameplay, like we discussed in the business model and structure. Moving forward, soft launch, marketing plan, roadmap, and marketing strategy. You can have all of it. You may be missing some part of it, but basically you're sharing your planning skills as the game founder, which is really important, and we will have templates later, so it's gonna be all right. Don't worry. Then you go into your ask, team's burn rate, and financials. By your ask, I mean how much money do you want. By team's burn rate, I mean salaries and other costs per month. So it would be clear if you want 1 million and your team's burn rate 200,000 per month, you definitely will not make it. So you need either to reduce your team's burn rate or you would need to ask for more money. And usually what I would recommend is for ask for at least 9 or if possible 12 months of team's burn rate, to not rush it, because then when you will need to fundraise again, it will take time, 3 or 6 months in average. So you need to have time. And last but not least, your contacts. Everywhere, messenger, email, phone, LinkedIn, everything. So investors should choose the most relevant for them. That's a game studio, and we will have a template later. If you're game tech startup, it's slightly different. So remember, you're solving the problem. And some of the slides are the same, but you should definitely have a problem and solution slides. And solution usually leads to why now, meaning that it's actually a big problem and actually a solution exists and it's your solution. It's actually really important if you're in the market where you have competitors and you're showing that why now is there is another way to solve this problem and it's a better way. The second reason could be before that, it wasn't a problem. That's why the market didn't exist before. It was really small in terms of the market size. But now it became bigger. For example, AI wasn't the thing 4 years ago. It was a niche. Now it's big because technology and the consumer behavior is up to speed, and now you can actually try to sell it. Market size, as I mentioned, of course, it's really important, and you will have the template of how to evaluate it. And then competitors, really similar to what we discussed before. Business model for me is much more important to share here because in gaming studio, you don't have a lot of different business models. In game tech, you can have like at least 3 or 4 main different models. So you should show what the model that you've chosen and why. And then obviously you should show your traction. So in game content, you usually in the pre-production, then soft launch when you don't have any traction. You have some traction, meaning that you have builds and you have updates, and maybe your retention rate metrics are changing. But it's not that important, and you will not have as many updates. In game tech, it's really important. You should have traction, and we will have templates how to show them. Once again, your ask and your content. And I mentioned before that if you can keep your deck even shorter, if you can combine some of the slides, it's gonna be much better because you will save precious time. How to keep your deck shorter? Usually, what I would suggest is to use data room. Data room is basically a folder when you have all the main documents, all the main numbers, all the main spreadsheets about your startup. And you can put the link to your data room in your pitch deck. And that's how you can have like 6, 7, 8 slides in your deck. Highly recommended. And you will see the example of data room in the templates. But basically, what I would recommend to include in this Data room is presented on your screen. It's the list. Just go one by one. We discuss most of them, and you will see in template why it's important for an investor. Moving forward, we tried our best, but oh no, investor isn't interested for now, because there can be quite a few reasons why investor is not interested now. For example, they have a capacity of investment this half or this year. They actually don't think that it's the right time for them now. So it's too early for them and they want to wait a little bit more. Or they actually have a better startup pitching to them now and they want to invest in them now. You will never know. Investors are not sharing it either because it's not gentle or because they don't want to hurt relationships. They want to keep the door open. So keep the door open. How to keep it open? First, don't take it personal. Second, share the investor update with this investor. Just ask for this and share the either quarterly or monthly updates depending on your pace, which will include highlights about your business results, team, product launches, KPI, and if you're fundraising again, you can ask for it. You can say that we actually have all these updates and we're asking for money again. If you want to join the round, now is your chance again. It's quite often that it happens. So when you're sharing the investor updates, investors becoming warmer and then they actually reconsider your startup again. So don't be mad, don't take it seriously, don't take it personally when you got a no. It's just for now. Some of the investors will say no forever. That's okay. Then you're just moving forward. That's the job. Moving forward from the investor update to the end of lecture number 1, you might notice that creating a pitch deck and polishing a pitch deck can take quite some time. That's why I created the templates slide to save your time and hopefully to increase your chances of getting money. The teaser deck, the pitch deck, data room, P&L, cap table, investor update. We discussed most of them, but a few words about P&L and cap table. P&L is about the cash flows, all the costs and revenues that you're planning to have as the business. That's quite important to show your planning to a venture capital fund or investor, so please use it. And then the cap table is basically what is your founders team, what is your existing investors, and how many percentages of your company they have. So they have 100 percentages, obviously, and then you can have 50 as the CEO, and then 50 will be held by CTO. That can be that simple, that can be a little bit more difficult, so please share it in advance because it's quite important as the part of the financial analysis as well. So use it please and save your time. And thank you for being patient. Thank you for trying to create a game business. That's quite important for the industry, having more bright ideas and creative minds. So good luck and see you in 3 more lectures and hopefully they will help you to prepare a perfect pitch. See you soon.